The first thing I noticed wasn't the blood. It was the silence. Thick, unnatural, like the house itself was holding its breath. The clock on the kitchen wall kept ticking, loud enough to feel like guilt. She was lying near the counter, one slipper missing, her hand reaching toward the phone that never got to ring. The smell of metal mixed with burnt coffee. I remember thinking how ordinary it all looked. No struggle, no chaos. Just a life paused mid-sentence. He sat at the table, face pale, eyes dry. It was an accident, he said, but his hands trembled too precisely for that to be true. Outside, sirens wailed somewhere far away, but inside, time had already stopped. And as I looked at her body, I knew one thing. Love didn't die here tonight. It was executed. I didn't ask him to repeat his story. People always add lies when they speak twice. He said she slipped, hit her head. The bruises disagreed. They were deliberate, patterned, like someone trying to erase something, not save it. The house was clean, too clean. The coffee table was wiped, but the remote still had a faint smear of lipstick. Her lipstick. I found her phone inside the drawer, locked, but with the charger still warm. She'd been using it minutes before she died. The neighbors said they'd heard arguing, muffled, not violent, just sharp. He claimed they were fine. But love doesn't sound like restraint. It sounds like control. On the mantel, a photo frame caught my eye. Him, her, and another woman half cropped out. The corner of a smile that didn't belong in that house. When I asked who she was, his pupils tightened. He said, "No one." And that was when I knew. No one always means someone who matters too much. Grief can be faked, but not for long. By the third day, his tears dried, replaced by routine. Coffee at 7, alibi rehearsed by 8. I watched him from across the room during questioning. Calm, collected, too composed for a man who'd lost everything. People like him don't panic. They plan. I went through her messages, what little the phone revealed before encryption stopped me. Patterns emerged. A new contact saved under a neutral name, AM. Calls late at night. Deleted, then re-added. When I traced the number, it led to a woman who worked with him. She didn't deny knowing him, just looked away too quickly when I asked when they last spoke. Silence can be as loud as a scream. The more I dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't a sudden act. It was scheduled, rehearsed. A murder disguised as heartbreak. Still, something didn't fit. The missing 42 minutes between his last call and the police report. He said he froze. But guilt doesn't freeze. It waits. And I could feel his waiting every time he smiled. The evidence came quietly, the way truth often does. A neighbor's security camera, half obscured by rain, caught a reflection in his car window. A figure, her, arguing at the door, then a hand, then darkness. I played the footage 3 times before I noticed what mattered. He didn't rush to help. He walked back inside, calm, deliberate. Later, we found a deleted voice memo on her phone. Her voice trembled as she said, "If anything happens to me, it's him. He's not who he says he is." That was all the confession I needed, not from her, but from him. When I confronted him, I didn't raise my voice. I slid the phone across the table and pressed play. He didn't blink, just exhaled slowly, like he'd been waiting for this moment to finally arrive. And in that silence, he broke without a sound. Because the truth doesn't always scream, sometimes it just looks back at you. I didn't arrest him immediately. Some truths deserve to rot in the mind before they reach the cell. I let him sit there, surrounded by the echo of his own confession, realizing that every detail he erased had already come back to haunt him. He whispered, You don't understand. I loved her. I leaned closer. No, you loved control. By the time the officers came in, he wasn't resisting. He just stared at his wedding ring, as if it finally felt heavy. The woman, the other one, refused to meet his eyes in court. Maybe she saw what I saw that night. Not love, not regret, just emptiness wearing human skin. Justice didn't need rage. It needed precision. And in that courtroom, truth was the sharpest weapon of all. It's been months. The house is empty now, sold, repainted, forgotten. But sometimes I still smell that burnt coffee in my sleep. People ask if I ever feel satisfied when a case closes. I tell them the truth. There's no such thing. Justice isn't closure. It's containment. We don't end evil. We just put a name on it and move on. He'll spend the rest of his life behind bars, replaying that moment between "I love you" and the scream that followed. And I'll keep remembering the silence that came after. Because in the end, justice was never about mercy. It was about making sure his silence was the only thing left of him.